Pixar. When it comes to Easter eggs and hidden references, does anyone do it better? Seeing as they are the masters of these tiny details, it's no surprise that Monsters, Inc. is no different, and that there are actually tons of hidden references you probably missed the first time around. While there are enough to fill an hour-long video, in this video we're going to take a look at 15 or so details you never noticed. Let's take a look. Of course, one of the best parts of Monsters, Inc. is Boo and her relationship with Sully, or as she calls him, Kitty. While Kitty is the name given to Sully by Boo, Sully gives her the name Boo.
Boo? What's Boo?
That's what I decided to call her.
Kitty.
But of course that's not her actual human name. That was seemingly a mystery, but if you're eagle-eyed or just happened to pause the movie at the right time, you would know what her actual name is. On the top corner of her drawings, it's revealed that her actual name is Mary. But to be honest, she looks more like a Boo to us. Also, the case files on all the children are extremely detailed, stating what each and every child is afraid of. And in the case of Boo, or Mary I should say, her biggest fear, like Indiana Jones, is snakes. Why'd it have to be snakes? Before the monsters learn that humans aren't all bad, well, most of them anyway, they have a deep-seated fear of us bald primates, and the best example is the moment that they completely freak out during the whole 2319 contamination incident. But 2319 isn't just a random code assigned to having an item of clothing contaminate the monster world, and it's actually extremely particular. In fact, it is literally the code for white sock, as W is the 23rd letter of the alphabet, while S is the 19th letter, giving you, of course, 2319. Pixar loves to make little odes to their staff in their movies, and their names are usually pride in place. Case in point is the Scareboard, which has a number of Pixar employee names on it, such as Ramft, short for Joe Ramft, a story developer on Monsters, Inc. and a writer for Toy Story, Jones, a reference to Marcia Gwendolyn Jones, the story manager, and Rivera, which is a reference to Jonas Rivera, who was the art department manager on the movie. But it's not just Pixar staff that are subtly inserted into the movie, but references to other Pixar movies, such as Toy Story, for example. In fact, if you look closely, a Jessie doll can be seen in Boo's room, while the toy plane, Pixar ball, and roly-poly clown from the franchise also all make an appearance. Plus, Andy's wallpaper from Toy Story is referenced on one of the walls that Randall blends into, while a poster from Sid's room can also be seen through a door. So we just actually rewatched Monsters, Inc. and noticed this one for ourselves, but while in Boo's room, because we're not calling her Mary, damn it, she gives Sully a stuffed clownfish toy, which is of course a reference to Finding Nemo. We didn't think too much about this reference until we realized that Finding Nemo was released 2 years after Monsters, Inc. Ooh, the foreboding. But that's not the only Nemo reference to appear, with a clownfish also being seen on the wall of the sushi restaurant. As we mentioned, Pixar doesn't just pick numbers at random, and they are usually very, very particular. Take for instance the 510-752-3000 scare simulator score that we see in the movie. Not only is that number pretty high, but it was also the actual phone number for Pixar at the time of the movie's release. Oh, if only we knew that at the time, we would have pitched them our Ratatouille spin-off, Hot Dogs, which would have seen a bunch of dogs running their own fast food franchise. No idea what the story would be, but hey, that's for Pixar to find out. Anyway, another quick fact is that the fizzed button on the keyboard is the name of the hair simulation physics tool used to animate the character's hair. Like with Toy Story and Finding Nemo, another Pixar movie to be referenced is A Bug's Life, aka Seven Samurai but with ants. After Randall is exiled to the human world, he ends up at the exact trailer seen in A Bug's Life, which also happens to have a Pizza Planet car parked outside, which is, of course, seen in Toy Story. Bet a few of you out there thought that we missed that one, huh? Going back to the sushi restaurant now, if you paid attention, you would know that the establishment is called Harryhausen's Restaurant, a reference to the legendary stop-motion animator Ray Harryhausen. But the reference goes even deeper with that, as the octopus preparing the sushi has a bandage and only 6 tentacles, which is a reference to the octopus that Hausen created in It Came From Beneath the Sea, which only had 6 tentacles due to budget reasons. Also, speaking of digits, Jerry starts the countdown for the scarer from 7, as he has 7 fingers on his hand. As the monsters transition from screams to laughter, Mike celebrates in a very familiar manner. After pulling off a successful comedy routine, Mike dances and does the white man's overbite from When Harry Met Sally, which of course stars the one and only Billy Crystal, aka Mike. Also, Mike's music video moment is a parody of Michael Jackson's She's Out of My Life, while the slow-motion walk performed by the monsters is used in many movies. In particular, Michael Bay ones, such as Armageddon, which itself is a reference to 1983's The Right Stuff. I love a good reference within a reference within a reference. When looking around the streets of Monstropolis, you will notice many quirks specific to the monster world. The red shocks from Monsters at Work is a particularly nice touch. An example of this, though, is Tony's Grossery, spelled with 2 S's, and features foods such as blood oranges, mango fruit, bilge berries, and my personal favorite, spine apples. I wonder if this is where Monster Munch comes from. Just for those of you who haven't been to the UK or are not from there, Monster Munch are chips in the shapes of monsters' feet and have different monsters on the packaging, and come in flavors such as pickled onion, roast beef, and a very interesting one, flamin' hot flavor. And apparently they are amazing. Seriously, the best. I kind of want to try these now. Also, there you go, Monster Munch. You get some free advertising. Hashtag not sponsored. Hashtag please sponsor us. Feel free to send us a few packs or crates or whatever. Just hit us up for the address. Anyway, back to the actual topic here. Also on the streets of Monstropolis, we can see the Hidden City Cafe on the streets of Monstropolis, but this is not just a fictional location made up for the movie. In fact, a number of Pixar employees would frequent the real-life Hidden City Cafe to get their daily boost of caffeine, presumably so they could actually finish making the movie. And speaking of caffeine, as you know, monsters come in all shapes and sizes, meaning that bigger monsters need bigger things, while smaller monsters are more content with smaller things, such as caffeine. If you look at the moment Waternoose pours himself a hot cup of joe, all the cups of coffee are different sizes to accommodate the unique monsters. If there's 2 things you can be sure about Roz, it's that she's always watching, and she loves her paperwork to be filed on time.
Wazowski, you didn't file your paperwork last night.
And despite her constant remindings, Mike still forgets. Even when he reminds himself, he still forgets. In his locker, we can see 3 notes telling him to file his paperwork, but even still, he manages to forget. Dude, switch to like Google Calendar, get yourself like a wearable, just something, man. Mike and Sully's apartment has plenty of interesting and quirky furnishings, such as the chairs that match their appearances. The best feature about Sully's chair, though, is the hole in the back that fits his tail perfectly. Gotta love that attention to detail. Also, the fireplace in their apartment also looks very spooky, just like a monster. Also, random aside, the news stories in the local news source, the Daily Glob, has some pretty hilarious titles, such as Baby Born with 5 Heads, Parents Thrilled, and ads for fur replacement, and a way to gain 10,000 pounds in a week. As we've mentioned, monsters have their unique qualities. Some have tails, multiple or only 1 eye, several fingers and no ears. Well, Randall's right-hand monster, Fungus, is the latter and has no ears, which is a little inconvenient when you have to wear glasses. However, fortunately for him, he has a convenient solution by attaching the glasses to his helmet to keep them on his face. Okay, this one's just a teensy bit embarrassing, and you might have noticed this one, but it kinda took us a little bit longer than it should have. See, when abbreviated, Monsters Inc. is MI, and this is represented in the logo. However, it's a bit of a joke in itself. See, while the M is there for all to see, the I is not the letter, but the actual literal I. Seriously, how the hell did we not get this after all these years, guys? And finally, while post-credit scenes are pretty commonplace these days thanks to Marvel, which much like Pixar is now also a subsidiary of Disney, mega corporations, Monsters Inc. had a funny credits gag before it was cool, with a cheeky joke stating that no monsters were harmed while making the movie. Well, that certainly put my mind at ease.